I'm here today to once again join athletes, scholars, some of my fellow members of Parliament, and others in the call for a national public inquiry into the Canadian sports system. Most recently, the request for the federal government to conduct a thorough examination of an antiquated system has been amplified by sports organizations such as the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport and Own the Podium. Those bodies are showing their support alongside more than 1,000 Canadian athletes, many of whom have bravely shared the abuse they have suffered from coaches and other sports leaders, and over 100 academics from across Canada and internationally. The only previous inquiry into sport took place 35 years ago when the Government of Canada showed courage by stepping up and ordering an examination of the use of performance-enhancing drugs and banned practices in sport. The wheels for that inquiry were put in motion in less than 2 weeks, including the appointment of Ontario Appeal Court Chief Justice Charles Dubin to lead it. The landmark inquiry, sparked by the positive doping test of Canadian sprinter Ben Johnson at the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul, cost $3 million. It lasted more than 8 months, produced more than 14,000 pages of testimony, and opened eyes not only here at home, but around the world to doping in sport. The Dubin inquiry made actionable recommendations that put Canada in the spotlight globally as a leader in the fight against performance-enhancing drugs. We need the same leadership now in the fight against abuse in sport. When I was Minister of Sport in 2018, I made it clear to officials in the sport community in Canada that we had a duty to protect children and young adults in the gym, at the arena, in the pool, and on the field. As is the case with our education system, there needed to be concrete steps taken to keep athletes safe. That included taking action to remove the abusers and enablers. But safe sport disappeared from the national agenda in 2019. Today, because of the overwhelming courage displayed by athletes and alarming media reports on organizations such as Canada Soccer, Gymnastics Canada, and Hockey Canada, the fight for a safer sport environment is front and center, as it should be. Band-aid solutions aren't enough, and athletes are demanding a national public inquiry. It's past time for the government to show the same courage as athletes and hold an inquiry that leaves no stone unturned. It must start with athletes and how they've been let down too often by the system. The role of Sport Canada must be scrutinized, and the collective power of the national sport organizations must be investigated. An inquiry must also examine how sport leaders circulated among organizations and reinforce their relationships and protections. It must also look at the use of non-disclosure agreements, governance and accountability over decades, data on all forms of abuse, and the list goes on. If Canada gets it right, we can better protect athletes. We can also be the catalyst, as we were more than 3 decades ago in the aftermath of the Dubin inquiry, for a long overdue global conversation on athlete health, safety, and well-being. For the sake of the people already affected by the despicable actions of others in positions of power, and for the next generations of athletes, we need to act now. We can no longer fail our children.